At the 70th session of the United Nations Summit in New York in September 2015, the United Nations committed world leaders to adopt a successor framework to the Millennium Development Goals (MDGs), which ended in 2015. With measurable targets and clear deadlines, the post-2015 development agenda, known as the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), was designed to improve the world's poorest people within a period of 15 years. The new development framework, otherwise known as the 2030 Agenda, clearly surpassed the MDGs with clear mandate to build on past achievements, consolidate, and of course, address the unfinished business of the Millennium Development Goals. Hello there and welcome. This is Agenda 2030, a program designed to capture and critically examine Nigeria's efforts towards the attainment of the SDGs. I am Toyin Kamyang John. On today's program, we will bring you reports from the ongoing national tour of states and the Federal Capital Territory as part of the efforts to mainstream the SDGs to the subnational government. We will also bring you reports from the anti-corruption drive of the government in line with the provision and targets of Goal 16 of the SDGs after this break.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the global development agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
As part of his effort to lift the country out of poverty and continue to enhance national development, President Muhammadu Buhari has launched a development manual which he said will lead the country in the path of prosperity. Speaking at the launch of the document themed Next Level at the banquet hall of the presidential villa, President Buhari said it is designed to lay the foundation for a stable and prosperous nation.
We are certain that these past few years have put us in good stead to press on the next level of building an even stronger nation for our people. We implemented a responsible and transparent fiscal plan for the challenging economic times that saw us doing more even with lesser oil revenues. Grand-scale corruption perpetrated at the highest level of government is now a thing of the past. The nation's wealth is now being invested in capital projects to expand infrastructure and connect people, goods, and opportunities by rail, road, and air. Through the National Social Investment Program, we are providing direct support to over 13 million Nigerians who need it. Perhaps our biggest ambition yet is the overhaul of our education sector. Every child counts. We will remodel 10,000 schools every year. We know that to succeed, moral integrity and conscience must continue to form the dominant character of our nation and its leadership.
One of the importance of anti-corruption is underlined in Goal 16 of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals. Specifically, the goal aims to reduce illicit financial flows, promote effective, accountable and transparent institutions, as well as inclusive participatory decision-making. This was the thrust of President Muhammadu Buhari's speech at the centenary of Armistice Day in Paris.
Speaking at the first edition of the Paris Peace Forum held on the sidelines of the centenary of Armistice Day in Paris, President Muhammadu Buhari said the anti-corruption war of his administration is yielding fruit by making more resources available for investment in pro-poor programs as stipulated in the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs. The president, who advocated for stringent actions against perpetrators of illicit financial flows and global actions against impunity at the forum, noted that pilfering of countries' resources is usually to the detriment of the poor and the vulnerable members of the populace. He noted that this was why his administration has made combating corruption as a defining feature of governance in Nigeria since assuming office on 29 May 2015. Indeed, the president had told the global audience in Paris that fighting corruption is one of the 3 pillars of the current administration's priority programs. He noted that illicit financial flows pose a risk to the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs, as many countries grapple with the challenge of gathering resources to improve their Human Development Index, while a few privileged individuals continue to explore the weakness in financial systems. President Buhari noted Nigeria has been tackling the problem of theft of public resources by strengthening its laws and institutions to fight corruption, fast-track recovery of stolen assets, and punishing offenders. The president said his administration's efforts to ensure public accountability and transparency has yielded dividends. Billions of naira has been recovered from corrupt persons and companies. The recovered funds, he said, is being redirected to the development of critical infrastructure and programs that will benefit vulnerable Nigerians, especially SDGs. Meanwhile, at the vanguard of President Muhammadu Buhari's fight against corruption is Malam Ibrahim Magu, the acting chairman of Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC). The EFCC chairman clocked 3 years in office, and he used the occasion to speak on his achievements in office so far, especially funds recovered by the agency.
For us as an anti-graft agency, it has been so far so good. The past 3 years have been very eventful, and in spite of the obstacles, we have consistently made progress in the areas of convictions, and particularly the recovery of assets stolen from all our commonwealths. In May and June this year, our resolute anti-corruption stance and determination saw us secure the conviction of 2 former governors who were both back 14 years jail terms each. It is unwrong that such an achievement is unprecedented in the fight against corruption over the last 3 years. The EFCC also secured the conviction of a senior advocate of Nigeria for perverting the cause of justice. In the 3 years that I have been in charge of the EFCC, we have secured a total of 703 convictions. The breakdown is as follows. In 2015, we got 103 convictions. In 2016, we got 194 convictions. In the year 2017, the conviction was 189. From January 1st, 2018 to date, ladies and gentlemen, we got 217 convictions as of today, and we have all the details.
It is in furtherance of the giant strides so far made by Nigeria in mainstreaming the SDGs into the National Development Plan, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, and in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, has embarked on strategic advocacy, sensitization, capacity building workshop for stakeholders in the bid to mainstream the SDGs to development plans of the states. On her trip to Minna, Niger State, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, Princess Adejoke Orilokwe Adefulire, reiterated the need for concerted efforts in the overall quest to attain the SDGs. She also listed some of the planned supports from the federal government to the states.
So what we are doing today is to work with the state government to mainstream SDG into subnational government, knowing fully that at the federal level we cannot achieve SDG alone. We need to work with the state government, because these are the people where people are at the subnational government. This is the people, because if SDG is about people, it's about our planet, it's about prosperity, it's about peace, then it's about partnership, then we have to work with the subnational government. So the 5 P's is very, very key. The people are here, we have partnership working with you, we need peace, and peace can only exist at the grassroots. If you don't generate from the grassroots, it can escalate to the national. So all of this we put together and say, okay, let's leave our comforts to let's come and work with the state government. From state government works with the local government, and so that together we can do a bottom-up approach where people that we intend to prosper are located.
The governor of the state, Alhaji Abubakar Sani Bello, who welcomed the delegates, said the visit was very critical and appreciative, pointing out that the time to act and develop the grassroots is now. He said Niger State has put on all structures in both human and financial resources for SDGs to succeed. Governor Bello said the state will continue to work with the federal government and the UNDP for the success of the SDGs.
We have a solid structure and a very good team under the Sustainable Development Goals. They are agile and active and hardworking. I have no doubt that you find them very useful. I hope we're able to move forward, to make progress. What I can do at this point is to give my firm commitment as the governor of this state that we'll do whatever it takes to give all our support, whatever it is necessary to see that this program succeeds. This program will take care of poverty, will take care of health issues, will take care of empowerment, and whatever is needed at the lower level for people to have a decent life. We know all fingers are not equal, but there's a minimum level to which a human being should live. And that is what we want to achieve.
In his remarks, Dr. Ojijo Ohiambo, who represented the UNDP country director in Nigeria, Samuel Biala, pointed out that the UNDP has a long-time history of partnership with the state and is willing to renew it for the common good of the people of the state. He said the need to go to the grassroots to tackle the challenges there cannot be overemphasized.
We have been working very closely with the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs at the national level. And now it's time for us to cascade all those activities and all those plans and all those intentions to the subnational level. This is where the problems are. This is where the people are. This is where the challenges are. And if we all sit in Abuja in very nice, comfy rooms, of course this is also very comfy, but of course really we need to go to the ground where things are really happening and where the challenges reside and tackle those challenges. We think, and this is critical, that we're not going to have a business as usual way of addressing the SDGs. We need a business as usual way. We need to mainstream the SDGs. We need to be very clear in terms of what are the interventions, what are the targets. We should be very, very ambitious with the targets. What are the interventions that we need to achieve this? So, Excellency, I think we are here again in conjunction with OSAP to support the mainstreaming process of the SDGs within the policies, the plans, the laws, and the implementation strategies to support the SDGs.
At the Advocacy, Sensitization and Capacity Workshop that followed, the delegation sought the cooperation of the executive, legislators, civil societies, the religious and all stakeholders in the state to achieve the global agenda.
In partnership with the United Nations Development Programme, Country Office Nigeria, we have come to jointly support Niger State to sufficiently mainstream the SDGs in its policies and development plan, beginning with this advocacy visit. In the course of the day, we will be engaging members of the Executive Council, members of the State House of Assembly, as well as members of the civil society all state actors and non-actors on strategies and approaches towards the integration of the SDGs into the state's policies and programs.
The challenge is that we need the SDGs as opposed to the MDGs are about a transformational shift. They're about a transformational shift towards focus on people, their prosperity, the health of our planet, the sustainability of our environment, underpinned by partnership and peace. Her Excellency, the Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, talked about the 5 Ps. So we are focusing on people, we are focusing on their prosperity, we are focusing on planet Earth, underpinned by peace and partnership.
Similarly, the joint federal government and the UN team also met with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohamed Bala, as part of the mainstreaming efforts.
We can't stay in Abuja at the federal level to achieve all this, because it's, aside from the fact that SDG is robust and the target is so enormous and the indicators that need to track, and the fact that the sub-national government where the problem lies, where we have the critical stakeholders and where the problem lies. So we need to mainstream SDG into the state plan, local government plan, laws, rules, regulation, so that together at the local, at the state and at the national level we achieve SDGs.
So on behalf of UNDP, I just want to pledge that we'll continue to work with the Office of the Senior Special Assistant and with the FCT to see exactly where the gaps are and what we can do together. I like the idea that we are also working very hard to get the private sector involved. I think that's the way forward. And when we say it's healthcare, whether we say it's education, we do have a role for the private sector to do that.
We are very happy with the support that the UN and its agencies has been giving us within the FCT. And also we are very appreciative of all the good work that the Senior Special Assistant has been doing. The most important thing, with respect to the work being done, the good work being done by you, is to ensure continuity and sustainability. While we were able to achieve some reasonable milestones, with the MDGs, but I think the SDGs now is an opportunity for us to work on overcoming the challenges that we encountered and really move forward. As you rightly mentioned, to drive this process, there has to be passionate commitment across board. And that, I think, can be encouraged through the workshops that you plan to do.
The mainstreaming train also landed in Calabar, the capital of Cross River State, where the combined team interacted with the Governor, Senator Professor Ben Ayade, the State Executive Council, members of the state legislature, public servants, private sector, and members of the civil society.
We are so much interested in the education of our young people, because without education, there's nothing we can achieve. Without education, there can be end to poverty. Without education, there can be end to disease. Without education, there can be end for ignorance. And if you are ignorant, you are fall for everything. So the need to train our children, especially those people that are out of school, is very, very important and cannot be overemphasized.
And perhaps what I found very clearly too, there was a direct connectivity between politics and SDG. That I never saw until she started doing her analysis. And the correlation is very straight. Because SDG is about people. Because politics is about people. Therefore, they share a unanimity. But I want to cascade that and reflect it into the Cross-River context. Having understood the philosophy that drives SDG, to focus on social economic well-being of the people, ensure prosperity, reduce poverty, and create a lifestyle that gives people a sense of worth. So SDG is about human dignity, it's about livelihood, it's about sustainable development. Sustainable development within the context of a people-focused development. Therefore, an agenda that is people-focused is within the capture points of SDG. Now, in correlating that with our circumstances across the state, we will want to draw very direct relationship. SDG has been structured in such a way that its implementation is limited by cash, and therefore funding projects becomes a big limitation in spite of the full understanding, the theoretical understanding, the socio-architectural framework of SDG well understood and elucidated. Unfortunately, it has to be cash backed. In order to implement some of these human-related projects to deal with issues of poverty, issues of empowerment, issues of employment, issues of water, sanitation, health, education, you can't do that without underpinning them with funding. It is against that background that Cross River State has moved beyond every other state, because in Cross River, when there is no money, the intellect switches on and takes over the role of money. And so for us as a state, we believe that for any problem you have, if you put your soul above it, your body will follow. And so we are never limited by financing. This is not to say that we don't need it, but it is not the core essence of our governance. Otherwise, Cross River State is number 35 out of 36 states in this country in terms of federal allocation. It is number 3 in terms of international indebtedness, perhaps number 2 in terms of domestic debts. It's one of the most indebted states in this country. But Cross River has always been number 1 in terms of payment of salaries, payment of pensions. This is an aspect that I want to be properly captured in SDG. Payment of salaries and pensions and gratuities. Because for those people who toil day and night, who knew no sleep in order that we live, have aged, atrophied, and sitting as senescent adults, it's responsibility of government to provide a shoulder for them to lean on. And therefore, the payment of pensions and gratuity is a critical social index that shows the sensitivity of a government to a people, particularly in the context of Section 14, Subsection 2 of our Constitution, that provides that the welfare and security of our people is the primary essence of government.
And at a technical session that followed, the stakeholders were taken through the rudiments of the goals. This platform also presents the participants an opportunity for knowledge exchange and sharing of best practices in the implementation of the Global Development Agenda.
The SDGs is not for the Sustainable Development Ministry. The SDGs is for all government, for all the MDAs, for all the actors in terms of development, civil society, private sector, women group, youth, people with disability, that the SDGs is not just for one institution. So I think that we have to take it upon us, whether we are from the SDGs ministry or any other ministries, that SDGs is actually our agenda.
When you talk about SDG, you talk about the people. Because the SDG slogan says, leave no one behind. So that is why SDG decided to have desk officers, all local government, all MDAs, so we'll be able to attend to the core poor, to the vulnerable, the less privileged in society. So today, I thank God that we are somewhere. SDG is growing, and with God on our side, we will do better than this.
We also, like I mentioned, it is evident that we cannot achieve the sustainable development goals with just throwing money at the problem. We just wake up as policymakers, we say we need 10 boreholes in one community, when that community does not need even one borehole. Maybe they just need a classroom block, maybe they don't even need a classroom block, they just need a quality teacher that will come and teach their children. So this thing has to be mainstream.
Nigeria will continue to support the United Nations in all its efforts, including the attainment of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
And that's our package for the week. Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/Fresh News TV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Log on to www.facebook.com/FreshNewsNG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV. Thank you very much for being part of the program this week. We will see you again next week. Until then, bye.